Hello, all of you gardeners. We're happy that you've joined us. This is Mid-American Gardener, and we're going to talk about all things plants, insects, diseases, trees, shrubs, raspberries, whatever you have for us. And we have some viewer mail and then your phone calls. Thank you for joining us. I'm Diane Nolan, and I teach horticulture at the University of Illinois in the Crop Sciences Department. So my area is cut flowers and perennials, but we have three talented folks. Let's find out who's here. Direct your questions in their way. Now, I'm going to start first with you, Dr. Bob Skirvin.
Well, I'm glad to be back. My name is Bob Skirvin, a professor emeritus. I taught horticulture at the university for a long time. It was first year I'm not teaching, and it's very kind of sad. But anyway, in spite of that, one of the things that I always encourage is you ought to look for the stuff that's in season. Right then, has fresh peaches, fresh apples, and fresh, during the wintertime when the citrus all comes in. Well, right now is grape season, and grapes are coming in like mad, and there's all sorts of, the sort of grapes you're used to think about, the round clusters, and there's also some really funny looking grapes that are coming in, and they're becoming interest for specialty market. And this one right here, if you can kind of see, I'll kind of hold one up, are elongated. It looks like I don't know how to describe it, kind of like a little bomb or something. I don't know exactly what it looks like. But they're really, really different. And these grapes, there's been some major breeding programs. Actually, wild grapes are not necessarily round. American wild grapes are round. The ones from Europe are elongated, and there's some super elongated like these guys here. And there's some, I've seen some in a breeding program in Arkansas. It looks like this. I think one of the gentlemen here said it was called witch's tongue or something like that. They're really funny looking grapes, and it's fun. Watch for them in the grocery store. Try it. You don't have to buy 15 pounds of it. Take it and buy a little cluster. They wish they sell them in bags like this. So you guys strip the bag. I didn't want that much. And so you can do that. They'd rather sell you the whole bag, but you can buy a little bit and take it, try them.
But we wish you'd gotten the whole bag. Those are really, really delicious. Not that we
really
tried a bunch
good.
of them.
And they're seedless. And they're really neat.
Really good.
And it's good for you, and it's really fun. And so have fun at the grocery store. I think you got to go look at everything. Try some new things.
Moon drops. That's really interesting. Thank you, Bob.
Okay.
And then let's go next to you, Kelly Alsop.
Yes, I thought they tasted very sweet. I like them. I'm Kelly Alsop, and I am a horticulture educator. I serve Livingston, McLean, and Woodford County. I have to shout out to all three of my counties. My expertise lies in houseplants, but I'm extremely passionate about beneficial insects and pollinators. So insect questions, I always am happy to answer anything like that. But today, I am showing a plant that got away from me this summer a little bit. It was in my office window. Can you tell where the window was? Right here. It was growing towards the window. I'd say the shape is not so pretty anymore. So what a good horticulturist does is they take a cutting. And so succulent cuttings are really easy to take. And then you do something different with them than you do with other cuttings. So I'm going to show you. So I want to find a node, and I want a good size cutting. So I'm going to go back to a node. A node is where the leaf meets the stem, and I'm going to cut that off. And then I'm going to cut a piece that anything left underneath that one remaining leaf, I'm going to cut that off. And then I'm going to pinch off at least 3 or 4 of these bottom leaves. Now, in the future, these nodes where I'm pinching off the leaves, that's where the actual roots are going to form. But instead of putting this directly into soil, I'm just going to do this and put it on my windowsill or my desk for a week. When I do that, I'm letting it callus over, and that will actually initiate rooting much better. So it's just going to be a little table decoration for a week. And then once it is done callusing over, I am going to put it in soil. And I wouldn't put it in a large pot like this. I'd put it in a very small pot because I wouldn't want to overwater it. And it could be a boutonniere.
I was going to
right?
say, I have a little hand bouquet
Yeah.
over here. Kelly gave me 2, and I just love them. It's so interesting to see the roots form. I really like it. And I did it by mistake one time. It broke off in my windowsill, and it was there. I found it 2 weeks later.
There's
And
there's some roots on this
Yeah,
one. Actually,
there are roots on there.
they root very easily.
And I forgot to say what
Spontaneously.
the plant was. Echeveria has a very beautiful blossom. And then the other one to the side of me is a sedum, a succulent sedum. Everybody always looks at me crazy when I say that because they're thinking about Sedum autumn joy. But sedum is a genus that is wide in the plant world.
So thank you for these 2 cuttings.
Oh,
I'm
yes,
going to
you're
really
welcome.
enjoy. I have one of each.
You put
I
one
think
each year.
Yeah.
I thought about it, but I thought perhaps not professional enough.
Okay,
And
yeah,
they'd
the-
probably drop out during the show. Thank you, Kelly, for both this and the information.
Thank you.
Now, let's find out what Jim Schuster is going to show us. But first, tell us more about you.
Well, I'm a retired plant pathologist, and by the way, I enjoy being retired. But what I have here, the person who sent this email in just asked what was killing their spruce trees. And I know we've talked about this disease in the past, but since it keeps being asked about why spruces die, I thought I'd bring an actual sample in of the disease. This is Cytospora canker. There are
Can you spell that?
Cystospora, Cytospora. There are 2 main species with several races or varieties. And that makes them the Cytospora species variety host specific. However, we don't get that shook about that. It's a canker. And Cytospora canker has a broad range of plants that it kills, and it loves just loves Colorado spruces, whether it's blue, green, or gray, or whatever. And it also loves mountain ash. And it tends to hit mountain ash when they're about 15 years old, and it tends to start hitting Colorado spruces when they're about 20 to 25, depending on the growing condition. Now, I have seen Colorado spruces get Cytospora canker when they are basically only 10 years old because they don't like standing in water. And the person who did that, he planted them in the bottom of the drainage ditch where it flooded all the time. And, you have to understand where this tree normal range is, and it's the top of the Rocky Mountains. It's the tree just below timberline. And above timberline, there's snow melting all summer long. It's running down the side of the mountain, over the roots, and it keeps right on going down the side of the mountain, and there's no puddling because these trees are growing in rock. And so they have good drainage, but it's always moist. And the other thing they have is daytime temperatures tend to be very cool. 50 degrees is a high, is common. And it often drops to below freezing at night. So when we bring the Colorado spruces to Illinois, first of all, we don't have the drainage it likes because we tend to be in heavy clay soils in most areas, and it's too hot. And when you stop and think about all the 90 degrees we had this year, it thought it was in hell. Plain and simple. So basically, as a tree ages, and that's another stress factor, is age, it becomes prone to this disease. And what you want to know about it is there is no chemical control. What we try and do is plant it in the best drain soil you can get. So the deeper the loam soil you have, the better. And you fertilize it when you start seeing the first bleeding lesion on any branch or spot in the trunk. And the fertilizing every fall for the rest of your life, or that tree's life, is to try and keep it growing vigorously, which helps reduce this disease. The death of this tree is going to be from the bottom up, most common. Second most common is top down. Third, from the north side to the south side. And the last way it dies is random death throughout. None of them look pretty.
That is the most thorough discussion of where blue spruces, well, Colorado spruces need to go. And really none of them are in the middle part of the United States.
Right.
Unless you find mountains. And I don't recall mountains. But that's so true. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's constant water. That's very interesting. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
And the bad thing is they get that right when they're starting to look really good.
Right.
So that's sad. So maybe think of other trees besides Colorado spruces. All right, well, we're going to go to our Did You Know section next. Snapdragon flowers resemble a dragon, and if you squeeze the sides, the dragon's mouth will appear to open and close. It's my favorite flower to show kids. Kelly, remember you and I used to do that and show.
I showed my graduate students, and they, oh, most of them have never seen plants.
It's
actually.
really interesting. Different cultures call it a different thing. One, lion's mouth in some countries, I think Germany, but it really does have a neat snapping system on its flower.
And they talk.
They do talk. Well, let's go to your phone lines and see what Bob has for us about the lawn on line 2. Hi, Bob.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I think I over-fertilized my lawn. And what should I do, because it burned it real bad, what should I do to alleviate that problem?
Well, if you had realized you had overdone it right away, you would have watered the heck out of it. If it's already started to turn brown, it depends on if it's just the top of the grass that died, that's one thing. But if you also burn the roots out, now you're going to be basically reseeding or resodding that area.
So he could come in over it with, and this is a good time to
Yeah,
seed.
it's perfect
Right.
time. Yeah.
So you could come in over it, but wow, that's really a bummer. So go easy and overseed an over-fertilized lawn.
Yeah, that's just another thing that if you're going to fertilize, you don't want to fertilize when the temperatures are really high.
And Bob could have gotten by with it some years, but not this year, I don't think.
we used to use the organic Milorganite when it was really high temperatures in the summer to fertilize lawn.
Because it's not fast.
Yep,
It's,
not fast.
so there's a good idea. So something that's really slow release, organic for another year possibly. Okay, thank you for your question. Let's go to Joe's question on line 3 about plums. Hi, Joe.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I'd like to find out. I saw a fruit laying out in my alley, and it looked yellow, like a kumquat or something like that. But this one was slick skin, the whole 9 yards. So I looked it up, and it said it was a yellow plum. Now I've never heard of a yellow plum, and this tree has got to be 30 foot tall. And I looked up in the tree, and there are several hundred plums on that tree, if they are yellow plums.
It's probably a yellow plum. Did you taste it, or?
I don't.
You didn't want to taste it, maybe?
I'm ugly. I'm not stupid.
Now, Bob would have tasted it,
I
and
would
that's
have
because he's
tasted it.
highly intelligent. Right, Bob?
But it probably is a yellow plum. There are some plums that they're kind of, there's some green sage plums, and there's some red plums, pinky plums. There's probably yellow ones too. I'm not a plum expert, but I would guess it's probably a plum.
You know what the first thing I thought was persimmon.
Oh.
That if it has blocky bark and orange underneath the bark, then that,
And they would taste terrible this time of year.
yeah.
So that was good he didn't taste it, but you might look and compare it, plum versus persimmon pictures. That's a good idea.
Yeah, you could always take a picture of the bark and the leaves and send it to your extension office, and they'd be able to identify the tree for you. And then you know if you can eat it or not.
And remember, on persimmons edible too, but they're really not edible until about the end of October, when they start to fall, get really mushy, and they're awful. They look like disgusting. That's when they taste good. But before that, they're very astringent, and you take
You
a
just
bite
paint
at it.
such a beautiful picture.
Well, that's the
But
way it
that's
is.
the truth.
They
The
sell
ones that
them
are
at-
pretty, you take a bite into those, and your mouth goes.
They sell them at the farmer's market.
Yeah. So do some research, plum versus persimmon. If you have pictures, that might help some local extension folks too. Okay, thank you very much, Joe. Let's go to Bill's question next about a pesticide, and he's on line 4. Hi, Bill.
How you doing?
Great.
My question is about systemic insecticides. It's about time for me to treat my ash tree. I don't know if I'm winning or losing that battle, but in years past, I haven't done it recently. I've used some of that on my shrub roses because I'm concerned about the Japanese beetle. I know they don't kill anything, but I just want to give them a little treat. But now I'm kind of concerned, does that insecticide get into the pollen? Will that kill pollinators like bees or butterflies or anything? If there's a bee
Perfect
pollen?
question to ask when Kelly's on.
Well, first of all, this is not the time to treat your ash trees. It's actually more middle, early June if you want to treat them with the systemic. There's a lot of, debate over, who pollinates ash trees. So they don't really think the bees are, that big of pollinators of ash trees, so you're not really hurting them. However, on the roses, you're definitely hurting the bees, and the systemic pesticide, probably the imidacloprid you're talking about, does pass through the pollen and can hurt the bees. So either you can, one of the things I love telling people is to cover it up with frost cloth. I know they don't like hearing that. Or another thing I like to do for Japanese beetles is I like to cut off all the flowers and cut off all the lacy foliage. Because really, the Japanese beetle at that point in time is not going to kill your roses. They've already photosynthesized enough. The emerald ash borer is going to kill your ash trees. Would I personally treat the ash tree for emerald ash borer? Probably not, because you will be treating it for 20 or 30 years. And you'll be
still going to die.
And yeah, and it could still potentially die, depending on what area you're in. If you're in my area, Bloomington, then you're not going to treat it because everything is already, all the ash trees in the town have already died.
And it started, up in the northern part and came from Michigan, correct? And it's moving south.
And it's not really prolific in the southern part of the state.
And the key word is probably yet.
Yeah, right.
Yet.
I'm just not a big fan of, if I have to treat something for 30 years, I'm going to go out and buy a new tree.
I just planted 2 black tupelos to be in front of where an ash tree is that right now looks great. And it's a Champaign County ash. It's a real pretty. And when it goes, I have 2 trees ready to replace it. I haven't treated it because I don't want to treat it for 35 years or so, or 20. So anyway, we hope that we have helped you. Thank you, Kelly, for answering that question. Let's go to Kathy's question about maples, and she's on line 6. Hi, Kathy.
Hi. I live near downtown Champaign. We have huge, big old maples. And with the storms that are going on, we've been losing branches. And when the branches come down, a lot of them have green mold-looking things on the branches. Is that something that's a concern? Are we going to be losing these trees, or, is that normal?
On the outside of the bark,
On the outside of the bark?
yeah, there are a couple of things that can be green. Algae, moss, and lichen. And the algae and moss are there because the bark is staying moist, either because of a lot of rain, overhead watering, or is just so shady and damp all the time it grows. Lichens, and they come in a wide range of colors. The most common are gray and that, but there are some greenish ones, and they're there because we have clean air. And so we can ignore all of them. If your maple is silver maple and you got algae or moss growing on it, I definitely wouldn't worry because the silver maple likes moist conditions. Does it look like a painted green? That would be algae. If it looks like a raised fuzzy growth, that's moss. And the problem is that it can also be a fuzzy raised growth that also can be lichen. So I need to separate those two apart by seeing it, basically.
But it could very well be lichen.
Right.
And that just means you're in an area that has clean air.
And that's
And
surprising
you can
when
breathe deeply.
Yeah, when you consider that you're in the downtown Champaign area with all the cars, that's considered pretty good. But if I do want to point out that when I started in Extension in the late 60s, we did not grow lichen in Illinois. And with the Clean Air Act that was passed soon after that, and the air started getting clean, lichen started growing, and the cleaner the air, the more kinds of lichens we can grow in the state.
I didn't know that.
That's great. That is great. I always love that. It means you have clean air. So I look for lichen everywhere and say, celebrate
I
that.
didn't know that. That's really interesting.
That is the truth. All right, thank you for that answer and for your question. Let's go to Darcy's question, and she is on line 3. And I think it's another maple question. Hi, Darcy. Darcy on line 3. Oh, we must have lost her. I was looking forward to a maple question again. Well, let's go around, and do you have an email, Bob? I see one
Yes.
right there. Go back to our panelists.
I got an email here that, and the person doesn't identify themselves, but they say they have a, excuse me, a potted raspberry and blueberry bush, and the raspberry bush will produce a lot of fruit. There's no problem. But my blueberry is not growing well. Last year I harvested 5 berries, and the plants are 3 years old. What do I do? Well, first, one of the things you need to do is drink some water. But blueberries do best when they have cross-pollination, and they really need a couple different varieties. And so in commercial production, when they plant blueberries, what they do is you actually will have two different varieties that flower at the same time, and the bees will do the work of pollinating them, but you got to have them at the same time. And so in a blueberry plantation, they'd have two different varieties, early ones and mid-season, late season. We have a lot of blueberries all the way through the season. So what you need to do is figure out what kind of blueberry you have here, and probably go back to wherever you bought your blueberry and buy another blueberry with a different variety that flowers about the same time, and then that should do better. Also, you want to check, blueberries are very sensitive to pH, and you might want to check the soil. If the plants are looking kind of yellow and the pH is wrong, they need to have acid soil, and you can use ammonium sulfate. Works very well for adjusting the pH, and never use aluminum. Aluminum sulfate will kill them, but the ammonium sulfate. But probably the real problem is it needs a friend.
Needs a friend. Okay. Thank you, Bob. Well spoken. Kelly, what have you got for us?
Okay. I have a hydrangea question. It usually grows 6 feet tall. This year it's only grown 2 feet. She said she cut it back in March, as she has every year. Vigorous leaves, but no height. March is the incorrect time to prune back hydrangeas, first of all. They should always be pruned back after they flower because they bloom on old wood. But when somebody tells me their plants aren't growing well enough, their plants aren't blooming, it's just a general rule of thumb that there's something wrong with the environment. Whether it's too wet, not good enough soil, not enough sun, or maybe it's not hardy and not a plant hardy enough for our area. So for her, I would stop pruning it in March. And maybe it got too wet this year. Maybe she might have over-fertilized it. So it's something with her environment, and that's what I would look at.
And start eliminating some things by changing. Okay, thank you, Kelly. And now Jim's got more lovely things for us to look at.
I have a disease called tar spot, and there are different species, and one really loves the Norway maple, and the other one loves the silver maple. The difference is the Norway tar spot loves the home landscape, and it is spreading rapidly from the north to the south. And the silver maple tar spot has been around for years. I mean, I saw this when I was in grad school, and they harvested it right here in Champaign County. This tar spot on the silver maple prefers wooded areas where it's damp and wet, but when you have a wet summer, it will start showing up in the home landscape. the best news you got is quit looking at it. Then you won't know you have it. Because by the time you see it, it's too late to spray.
Boy, now, if everything had the same answer, which here's my favorite, wait, maybe next year, and then this one is quit looking at it because it's not going to hurt it.
You know, it's like, you know, it's
It looks bad.
yeah, it
this
looks
one.
like, I mean, it's like getting pimples. It doesn't kill you. This is just going to make the plant look bad. And if you want to do anything, after the leaves fall off, pick them all up and burn
Okay.
them. But otherwise, ignore it.
Yeah. So it's cleanliness that will help it to decrease over time.
I wouldn't say that because
Okay.
it's airborne.
Okay, all right. Then quit looking at it. And that's our answer. Well, thank you so much for watching and for your expertise. I appreciate it. We hope that you get out and garden. It's going to get cooler. I just know it. See you next time. Bye-bye.